Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're cutting right through the noise to get straight to the mechanics of how businesses actually protect their bottom line. We're diving into a really insightful guide from Rasta Infotech on transforming procurement. And hey, we aren't just talking about buying things here. We're going to explore why the humble purchase order is actually the ultimate tool to ensure strict organizational compliance. So get ready to see a piece of everyday procurement in a completely new light.
Think about this for a second. Is your procurement process actually compliant? Or are you just buying things? It's a pretty vital question, right? Because so many organizations suffer from what's known as rogue spending. Departments just purchasing whatever they want, exactly when they want it, without any real oversight. And that lack of structure, it isn't just chaotic. It's a massive financial and legal risk. Without a standardized process, you're essentially flying blind. You're just kind of hoping that your budgets are respected and that your suppliers deliver exactly what was promised. Not a great strategy.
So to reframe this document into a strategic advantage, we're going to cover a few key areas today. First, the backbone of procurement. Next, your ultimate compliance shield. Then, applying the CCC framework, types of purchase orders. And finally, AI-powered digital transformation. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the backbone of procurement. So, a purchase order, or a PO, as we usually call it, is really the legal anchor of your purchasing workflow. It's a formal, legally binding document issued by a buyer to a supplier. It details all the essentials, the items, quantities, prices, and terms of a transaction. And here's the crucial part. Once it's accepted by the supplier, it becomes the ultimate governing contract for that specific transaction. It locks in the items, the pricing, the terms, the whole shebang. It basically secures exactly what your organization expects to get out of the exchange. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these specific granular components act as the building blocks for an absolutely ironclad audit trail. When you look at requirements like having a unique PO number for tracking, the exact buyer and supplier details, the precise item descriptions and quantities, right down to the delivery and payment terms like net 30, you quickly see that a well-crafted PO leaves literally zero room for ambiguity. If there's ever a dispute, an auditor or your legal team doesn't have to guess what was agreed upon. It is all securely documented right there in black and white.
Moving on to Section 2, your ultimate compliance shield. Okay, let's dive into this because there's a really critical shift in perspective we need to make here. The outdated view treats POs as just mundane administrative paperwork, just another hurdle to jump over to get things moving. But Rasta Infotech treats them as strategic safeguards. They are the gatekeepers of your company's cash flow and legal standing. By treating them as strategic tools, you actively shield your organization from internal errors and external fraud. You're basically enforcing compliance by default.
So how does this protection actually work in the real world? Well, it starts with strict financial control, which enforces budget limits before a single dollar even moves. And this is backed by legal protection for both parties, resulting in total transparency. We're talking about a flawless audit trail for every single transaction. Ultimately, outlining everything up front drives efficiency, practically eliminating those annoying supplier disputes down the line. It's really just a comprehensive system designed for total organizational compliance. That brings us to Section 3, applying the CCC framework. And this brilliantly illustrates a highly practical compliance check developed by Rasta Infotech called the CCC framework. That stands for clarity, context, and conversion. Step 1, clarity. Every PO must clearly define the items and quantities. If you have ambiguity, you're absolutely going to get mismatched invoices. Step 2 is context. You've got to link your POs to specific requisitions, budgets, or projects. Approvers and suppliers actually need to understand the business need driving the order. And finally, Step 3, conversion. The ultimate goal here is a seamless conversion from the requisition to the PO and finally to the invoice. This allows for what we call three-way matching, meaning matching the PO, the delivery receipt, and the invoice to ensure absolutely error-free, compliant payments. Let's look at Section 4, types of purchase orders. Because compliance isn't one-size-fits-all, your choice of PO depends entirely on the frequency and certainty of your purchasing. A standard PO is your go-to for one-time purchases where all the details are defined right now. Then you have a planned PO, which is used when you know the quantities and pricing, but you want to schedule the deliveries for a later date. A blanket PO is absolutely essential for recurring purchases from the same supplier. Think things like office supplies or regular maintenance. And finally, a contract PO is used for long-term framework agreements with suppliers. Choosing the correct type ensures your compliance tracking precisely matches the reality of your business relationships. Let's move into our final section, Section 5, AI-powered digital transformation. Even with a rock-solid understanding of POs,
Processing them manually introduces incredible chaos. Organizations face constant invoice mismatches just because of human error in data entry. They suffer from massive approval delays, while papers literally just sit on desks. They accidentally generate duplicate orders, which is a huge waste of money. And they face endless supplier disputes over simple miscommunications. Honestly, manual procurement is basically the enemy of compliance.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this is exactly why technology is non-negotiable today. Traditional paper-based POs are slow, they're error-prone, and they're nearly impossible to audit efficiently. Compare that to Rasta Infotech's vision of AI-powered procurement. We're talking about deep integrations with heavy-hitting ERP systems like SAP EWM, and even leveraging cutting-edge voice-picking technologies in the warehouse. The difference is night and day. You move from static paperwork to a living, breathing digital ecosystem that monitors compliance for you automatically. When you implement this kind of digital transformation, the benefits are just staggering. You get automated PO creation and routing for approvals, which means nothing gets stuck in transit. You get real-time budget checks. The system literally won't let an order go through if it breaks budget compliance. No way around it. You also empower your team with mobile PO submissions, so the business doesn't just stop when they're away from their computers. And you get comprehensive analytics dashboards that give you total, uncompromised spend visibility, locking down your compliance at every single level. To really bring this all together, Rasta Infotech outlines a few essential best practices that you can start using. First, standardize your formats. Consistency is absolutely the bedrock of compliance. Automate approvals to kill those bottlenecks. Train your teams on the why behind the policies so they actually act as partners in compliance. Integrate everything with your ERP for real-time tracking. And above all, monitor your KPIs. Track your approval times, measure your error rates, and constantly monitor your spend compliance to maintain that operational excellence. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought drawn directly from Rasta Infotech's philosophy. Are your purchase orders just static contracts, or are they data-driven decisions fueling your growth? Because when you leverage the CCC framework and embrace digital transformation, you stop just buying things. You start building a resilient, fully compliant procurement machine that actively saves money and drives your organization forward. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this topic. Keep learning, keep optimizing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.